Hi, welcome back to the World According to Wortman podcast. I'm very pleased with the feedback from the first episode, and I'm looking forward to bringing some new content in the near future. I'm very excited to share with you another episode with another interesting individual from Lake Middle High School. This individual is very popular amongst the student body by both middle schoolers and high schoolers. You can usually find him in his office sorting through the non-stop drama of the middle school. But you may also find him shredding the slopes on a snowboard, lighting up the 7th graders as head of the paintball club, or even just being the manliest of men and surviving in the wilderness. He is a man of many talents and interests, and I couldn't be more excited to have him on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Rector. All right, sitting down with me today, I have our guidance counselor at the middle high school. That's Mr. Rector. He is a man of many talents, a jack of all trades, if you will. I know he coaches multiple sports for his kids, basketball, baseball, and rugby. Is that correct?
That's correct.
On top of doing all of the paintball club stuff, you're also a big-time snowboarder, right, or skier?
Snowboarder.
Snowboarder, so he's involved with the ski club. So this is somebody who's always involved and is always encouraging people to get involved. So I'm extremely excited to have him on the podcast today to pick his brain a little bit so you guys get to see a different side of Mr. Rector. So I guess we'll go ahead and get right into it. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, just kind of tell everyone who you are, what you do here at the middle high school,
right.
What you're passionate about, because not everyone had the pleasure of having you in class.
Right. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here. My name's Brian Rector, and I'm a guidance counselor here at Lake Middle High School. I believe this is my 7th year here.
Yeah, we got hired at the same. Didn't we come in at the same
did.
exact time? I remember going to like a cookout at Reed's.
Right.
When I got hired in, and that was kind of my
7
first.
Years, right? Is that where we're at?
Yeah,
All right.
Sounds right. First exposure to Mr. Rector and Mr. Reed as a principal.
All right. Before I was here, I was a guidance counselor at Stowe Kimpton Middle School for 5 years, I believe, and before that, I was working at Akron Public Schools as a bully prevention specialist. And before that, which got me started in education, is I was a Spanish teacher at Barberton High School, and then I split that time as a guidance counselor, kind of working my way up to where I'm at now.
So you taught Spanish?
I taught Spanish.
Are you still fluent?
No.
No.
No. I still love the idea of being fluent.
Yeah.
I love the language. I still get to work with Mr. Yoder in the Spanish department here to go into their classrooms and talk about the culture of the language and how important it is to step out of your comfort zone and learn a different culture, different people, different music, different food. I always tell the boys and girls there's so much more to a foreign language than just the language. You know?
Absolutely.
So although I'm not fluent in the language anymore, I still feel like there's still a lot of doors that stayed open with the cultural aspect of it.
Oh, I agree with you. I would love to learn a different language,
Right.
but I don't know if I have the time or the patience to actually learn it. But
Right.
it's the idea or concept
Yes.
that I appreciate and enjoy. Well, that's cool. I did not know that about you.
Right.
So you used to teach Spanish.
Yep. And some things that I'm passionate about, currently my family's first. If I'm not with my family, I choose to be with my family. For as much as I love going on this DC trip, they're going to be the first ones I miss. You talked about the coaching sports. I always joke with my boys, I'm doing this for you. I don't think I'm sure there's some dads that love
we
coaching.
live vicariously through them a little bit,
yes.
but of course. But
my passion's my family. Love my wife. Love my boys. A lot of the interests and hobbies that I have, I may have grown up with, and I love the fact that I've pushed them on to my family so we can do them together. And then my biggest passion from my family, for anybody that knows me, is camping. I love camping.
I've got a little section about the wilderness here,
and then those are probably in traveling, just traveling with the camper attached to our truck. Those two
go hand in hand.
Yep. So those are my passions right now. So,
all right. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I'll go ahead and get started with just some tough questions.
All right.
Just like in the last episode, these are questions that you can't really prepare for.
Oh, boy.
They're just weird ones that Mr. Wortman puts you on the spot with, and we'll see what you come up with.
Here we go.
All right, so let's go ahead and start with, you coach baseball, correct?
Correct.
So if you were up to bat in the World Series, what would your walk-up song be?
Man, great question. Jeez.
It is. It's a tough one. You really. I think everyone struggles the most with this one because everyone's playing through a collection of songs in their head that they've heard in the past, and putting your finger on one is always pretty tough.
Right. I mean, I'm just thinking back. I'm thinking Metallica, Aerosmith, AC/DC. Oh man, what would man? Maybe and this is just, I'm throwing it out there. I think it's "Hero of the Day" by Metallica.
Okay, yeah.
Isn't that the?
I believe that is. I have to look it up, but I'll double check on that.
So I'm thinking that not that I would put myself as hero status. That would be a good motivation.
It's not for everyone else. It's to put you in the mindset,
that's what
right?
I mean.
So as long as it works for you.
Yeah. So that's my answer for now. And I'm sticking to that for now.
I think that one will last for a while because, I mean, we talked about this last week. It doesn't matter where in America you go. If you go to a football stadium, a baseball stadium, you're going to hear AC/DC or Metallica.
Right.
It's a given.
I feel like the fans would like that too. I mean, who wouldn't like Metallica rocking through the stands?
Oh, Metallica will get ready to do anything. I don't care if you're doing dishes or laundry at home. Metallica is going to get you ready.
I believe so. So there you go. That's it.
All right, good. I like that answer. All right. This one's called Aliens, Bigfoot, or Nessie. If you had to place all of your eggs in one of the cryptoid or conspiracy baskets, which of those three do you feel is the most believable? Aliens, Bigfoot, or the Loch Ness Monster?
Well, I believe that aliens is the most believable because, the universe, is undiscovered, pretty much. So I feel like the easy answer is aliens. However, the most fun is the Sasquatch.
Okay, I was hoping somebody would say Sasquatch.
Because repeat the question again.
Well, I'm just asking aliens, Bigfoot, or Nessie. So pick from those three, like if you had to put all your eggs in one basket. But I'll add a fourth. I'll add Sasquatch. Because
wait, Sasquatch wasn't one of them?
Nope, it is now.
Oh, what were the three?
Aliens. Oh, Bigfoot. It is right.
Oh,
You're right. You're correct. I was not paying attention there.
So,
aliens, Bigfoot, or Nessie.
Right. I would want Bigfoot to, the woods are only so big and they've been scoured so much. However, even when I'm out hiking, I mean, I'm still looking for Bigfoot.
So you've been squatching, huh?
Yeah.
You've been You're a squatcher.
Why not? We do a lot of hiking. We go to a lot of trails. We're always in the woods. What if one day you just happen to see Harry staring back at you? You remember Harry and the Hendersons?
I vaguely.
Okay.
That's an older movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I feel like I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I couldn't tell you the plot or anything like that.
So that's the one I would want to. Like I said, aliens. It
is an easy answer.
They have so much more of an area to say. Well, there's so many things undiscovered where, the woods end, but. Yeah, definitely the Sasquatch there.
So we got a squatcher here.
Yes.
I like it. I'm actually in the market for finding someone who's like an avid squatcher.
Oh, wow.
Because I want them on the podcast. I want to pick their brain about Sasquatch.
All right.
So if it's you, I would love to have you back, or if I can find someone else that you know of.
However, in the Rector family, not my close family, but in the Rector family, there are, did you call them squatchers?
Squatchers.
There are squatchers that continuously go down to Salt Fork for that Bigfoot convention.
No way.
So there are avid rectors that are going out and doing that.
I love it.
Salt Fork.
I love it. You got to have fun with that type of stuff.
You do.
You have to have fun with it.
Well,
it's like that the Mothman over in West Point Pleasant. It's in West Virginia, right?
No, I don't know about this.
They have like a festival every year. They made that movie years back, the Mothman Prophecies, I think it was called.
Okay.
It was about the Mothman, some cryptid that
Okay.
appears before
All right.
natural disasters and horrible events. But they made a movie about it, and it took place, I believe, in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So every year they have this like big old Mothman festival there, and believers in the Mothman come from all over the United States to celebrate.
Fun.
So I would imagine it's something like that. Okay, good. You're a big survivalist, or at least you enjoy camping. So let's say you're stranded in the wilderness. What are 3 survival items that you're bringing with you?
Okay. I would bring, like, what would it be called? A flint starter? A fire starter, a flint starter, if that's what that's called.
Fire is key.
Yes.
I remember you saying that. You talked earlier in the year about that winter survival thing, which I'm going to bring up later because there's no way I wasn't going to talk about that because that is an incredible story.
Right.
But fire is key, so I'd have to agree with you on that one.
So so a flint starter, and then am I allowed to bring Rambo's knife that has all the components in the handle, or is it just the knife?
You can bring the Rambo's knife.
The Rambo's
I'll
knife.
count that.
And all right, so I have my fire, I have my knife, and I'm not an avid survivalist, so I'm just thinking of the 3 necessities I would need. I would say rope. So fire, a knife, and rope. I feel like I could at least conquer my situation with those 3 items.
Those are 3 great answers. Because I'm used to asking 7th graders that question, and they're like, an infinite supply of food, my Xbox, and my AirPods, all things. You're like, okay, that's realistic.
Now, now that I'm really thinking, would I substitute like a pot?
So that was the one I was thinking of that most people wouldn't say. Is just to have something to sanitize water. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'm cheating because I'm going. You must have said something to make me think of a pot. So if I were to give up rope, but I already said it, I would maybe substitute rope for a pot. So, but
we'll count it. 3A and 3B. How's that? All right, this next one I want you to take super serious.
Okay.
It's one that we've been debating for a while.
Oh boy.
I do have some statistics on this as well. But hypothetically speaking, if a Kodiak grizzly bear were to fight a silverback gorilla, who would win?
I think, and I don't know the data you're looking at, I'm just going off a gut instinct here. And I just watched Rampage. So I'm going with the silverback gorilla.
Okay, you would agree with 55% of the 7th grade.
Oh, wow.
55% said the silverback gorilla, and 45% said the Kodiak grizzly from Alaska.
Oh, okay. And is there like a legit answer?
Well, no, there isn't. It's just it's a question that doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or 50 years old. It's an interesting question.
It is.
I would like to mention that an average silverback gorilla, I believe, is somewhere between like 300 to 500 pounds.
Okay.
But a Kodiak grizzly is anywhere from like 600 to 1,000.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And once I mentioned that, I had a couple people jump ship on the silverback side, and they came over to the Kodiak grizzly side. Because I'm on board the Kodiak train.
Okay. No. All right.
Because if you ask me, I think a gorilla's got thumbs. It's got that advantage.
Right.
It's smart. So it's going to try and use its IQ, it's going to use its speed and its quickness to try and beat the grizzly. But I think the grizzly's just too big.
Okay.
I mean, all it takes, it's like fighting Mike Tyson. You can dodge 10 punches, but all it takes is for one hit, and you're knocked out.
But man, the shoulders and arms of a gorilla.
Yeah.
Don't gorillas aren't like that species, and aren't they like 10 times stronger than?
Oh, I believe they are. Yeah, I believe they are. They're straight
Good.
like just upper body strength. I
Right.
mean, you look at their chest, their
Right.
pectorals, their biceps. I mean, these animals are just shredded,
Right.
and they don't lift a single weight.
I know. That would be fun to watch the 7th grade kind of figure that answer out.
Yeah. I just, like I said, I just think one hit. I mean, 1,000-pound Kodiak
agree.
bear, stand on its back legs, 10 foot.
I
Oh,
agree.
that's terrifying. So, I'm on the minority there. I believe with the 45% with the Kodiak, but I'll chalk you up as a silverback gorilla.
Yep, I'm sticking to it.
All right. Let's say aliens came down from outer space and they challenged Mr. Rector to any video game of your choice, one-on-one. If you win, you save humanity. If you lose, the aliens are destroying Earth. What video game would you challenge them in? And this can be anything from the arcade, like Mrs. Pac-Man, Dig Dug, any of those, Galaga, Centipede, or if you are interested in any of the more modern games like Call of Duty and Fortnite. So anywhere in between.
All right. So now, any of our current students aren't going to know what this is.
I'd be surprised because I mentioned Dig Dug on the last episode.
Right.
And I had at least 3 or 4 kids come up to me and they're like, you know the game Dig Dug?
Right.
I'm like, guys, I've been playing Dig Dug since I was younger than
I'll be
you.
darned.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm just thinking, I grew up in Greene, and after baseball games or where the kids hung out I think it was called Pepe and Luigi's, and they had a fun little arcade, and I was really good. Do you remember that arcade game where I think it was called Off-Road, where there were four, steering wheels, and you had a little nitro button.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you almost sat next to people and you would race.
You would stand and you'd just be racing those monster trucks through this dirt course on an arcade. I think it was called Off-Road. I feel like I was very confident when it was my turn to go up against my friends at Pepe and Luigi's in that off-road game to conquer an alien. For humanity, I would challenge them in that game.
I love it. I love that answer. I'm going to go home and do a little more research on that. So off-road.
I think it was called Off-Road.
Sounds familiar. I feel like I feel like if I see it, I'll recognize it. Be like, oh, I know that game.
Right.
Probably one of those.
Right.
Awesome. Well, you had some great answers there. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no problem.
A tough category, puts you on the spot a little bit. So moving on. Earlier I mentioned a winter survival experience that you went on with your kids.
Right.
And you almost had me in tears telling me this story and telling the story to your teen skills class. So I was just wondering if you would kind of recap that story for our listeners. And what motivated you?
Right.
Why did you go on this?
Right.
And how did you picture it going versus how it really went?
Right.
So I'll just kind of give you the floor.
Oh, boy. Okay. So I'm not much of a YouTuber or anything like that. However, when I am looking at camping kind of videos, this common guy kept coming up, and he's a survivalist, and he would document himself specifically doing winter camping. And it caught my eye because it was winter outside. So I started watching this guy thinking, how on earth is this guy going to survive? And so he just kept a GoPro with him and just documented his experience. I immediately got interested in what he was doing, thinking that would be a lot of fun to try. So as I started watching, I started taking notes. I started coming into teen skills class showing my teen skills class clips of this guy seeking their opinions out, and it was fun to get their feedback. Then I started going home, asking Jonah and Julian, hey, what do you guys think? They started getting interested. So then we started to really watch the video and get more and more kind of confident in getting to do this ourselves. So then we finally said it. We're going to do it. And so I'll tell you this, the one of the main reasons, and I kind of did this on purpose, one of the main reasons I did it, I feel like if I started talking about it in class, that was my accountability piece, because I knew all of my students would be asking me if I did it or not.
Yes.
I feel like if I didn't approach my class with it, it would be more of an easier reason to back out. Like if I,
No, that's
you know what I
that's
mean?
so true.
Because I feel like I have 3 classes of boys and girls. Like, did you do it? Like getting me amped up. So I started telling the class, hey, this weekend we're gonna start camping out. So these were the rules that we had to go by. Rule 1, we had to hike from our house. Now, we were going to a piece of property just down the road from my house, but it was still in the wintertime. We made it a hike. So we had to hike to our camping location. We could only pack gear that we could carry or pull on the sleds. If we forgot anything at home, we were not allowed to come back and get it. Okay, so that was.
I love that you're setting rules, by the way. Like
right.
this, like it's not just a camping experience.
Right.
It's almost a challenge.
Yes,
you're challenging it.
Yeah.
It's more than just camping. Which
right.
I think is why I'm really drawn to this story. Is you had all these rules laid out ahead of time, and I love the idea of
and
that.
The rules didn't make it miserable, but it was not like it was more for challenge.
Yeah.
Right. So then the second rule, if there was an order, was we had to start a fire using a flint starter. Joan and Julian got a flint starter from one of their buddies. And so they like trying to start fires. And that's what this guy would do. We're following this guy on YouTube. So he flint starts his fires. So we did that. So we had to do that. Thirdly, we had to collect our own wood. You know, where we were camping, there was a wood pile available, but we had to collect our own wood. And then what was it last? So what was last? Oh, and then we just had to, you know, we had to cook our over the open fire.
Okay.
So those were our fun little rules we had set in place. So we had basketball Saturday. After basketball, we grabbed we grabbed our gear. We had it all packed in our sleds. It was really fun. It was really fun packing. I did not realize the amount of gear we needed. And we had 2 sleds loaded up, backpacks for one night. I mean, 12 hours, 16 hours. For 16 hours worth of camping, we were loaded up. Hiked over to, so we got our gear. And this, oh, by the way, the Saturday we went, it was 7 degrees in the
Too
sun.
cold. Too cold.
Yeah, 7 degrees in the sun, and
I don't even like taking my trash out when it's that cold. I'll set it outside the door. I'll take care of that later.
People thought I was nuts, and here's what's crazy: people thought I was nuts, and it was fun. It was for fun conversation. But me, I was just like, nah, it's like I was like, it's good, and like Jonah, we're good. We're good.
I mean, you got to have that mindset. So you can't be defeated going into
it.
You know?
So, and this is gonna sound weird. I didn't want it to be any warmer. If we're gonna do this,
do it the right way.
I always tell I love battling the elements. I really do. Like when I'd go to a Browns game, I prefer a rainy day. If it's wintertime, and I'm going to the Browns game, let it snow.
They make for great stories.
Yeah.
You remember going to that Browns game? We were so cold, you couldn't feel your nose.
And and I always like preparing. I like having to prepare for something that's not normal. Not normal. It's like all right, I like figuring something out. I got to figure this. It's.
You ever watch those survival shows? Like there's one that was actually up in Alaska. I think it's called like Life Below Zero.
I've seen them.
And it's these people. They're out of their minds.
Right.
They literally are living off the land
right.
in these remote regions of the world where it's like -20 on like a normal day-to-day basis. Like that is insane. But that's what it kind of reminds me of.
Right. And so obviously this is my mindset going into it. I wanted it to be cold. I was glad to take on that challenge. Let's kind of like figure this out, kind of a challenge. So we hike, we get to the campsite, and first thing I forgot was the shovel to shovel out the snow to put our tent. Oh, and that's the thing. On the show, the guy uses a lean-to instead of a tent. He kind of makes a tarp lean-to. And I remember coming into class, I was like, guys, I'm going to cheat a little. We're going to use a tent instead of a lean-to. And they were, okay, whatever. You know, a couple of them gave me a hard time. Needless to say, I thought I was cheating using a tent, but we'll get to that part in a second. So we set up our tent. Sun's out, so we're down to our base layer. beautiful day. Thinking, what's funny is we also thought we'd have time to like do stuff, so we like brought sleds and snowboards to go. You know, we thought we'd have time to like play around and
Instead
have
of
some rec
just surviving.
Let me tell you, it was all survival from the moment we got. Now, keep in mind, this is just for fun, right down the road from our house, but there was no rec time.
Yeah.
We get the tent up. We go start collecting wood from all sizes, from cattails to start the flint, to start the fire, to little sticks, to kindling, to the bigger branches.
And everything you're explaining, like you explain in 30 seconds.
Right.
But the act of getting those cattails and those little sticks, that is like a time-consuming process.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, is it tedious?
Yes, and it was tedious. And then and then carrying it all, loading it up. So we get it all. We get everything. We're following this guy's regime. You know, this guy on YouTube, just like a little spark, poof, he gets I mean, he's cooking a hot dog in like 30 seconds. You know, me and the boys, we're flint starting. We're trying. The cattails light up really good, but to keep the fire going, they don't show you that on the. Maybe he edits that out of his YouTube
He
or
must,
something.
the first 25 minutes.
Because
the first 10
getting
attempts.
the fire started.
No, I'll cut that out.
Was, oh my gosh. So we get the fire started. I mean, so we get the fire, and I am worried at this point because I don't want to cheat, you know. So the fire gets started. We're starting. The sun's going down, so we're starting to get cold. We're happy. So we're everything's kind of organized. We're starting to layer up. The sun goes down. I'm getting ready to cook dinner. And I could tell that the snow was not allowing embers to get generated under the fire to get a good heat. And as I'm preparing dinner, the fire goes out. Oh. And I am, at this point, I am like, there's no like it's not like, okay, we're gonna pack. We're load up, go get like. Yeah. So we're back now. It's nighttime. We're flashlights. The boys are like, can we go to Grandma and Grandpa's house and get a corn dog? You know, they're like,
nope, I'm out here because of you. You're gonna stay out here with me.
And I say that jokingly because, to their credit, they did not. I'm only saying that. That's probably what was going on in their mind. In front of me, it was, let's do this. You know. So we got this thing relit, and I learned that I was splitting the logs. I was splitting the logs too wide because I was being lazy. I had to split them down smaller to just get the fire going stronger, which then we started getting our ambers. We had a great fire. Put the Dutch oven on the open fire. It was Texas stew. We had beef, onions, potatoes, beans, corn.
Sounds great.
All this stuff, bread. We made hot cocoa. I'll be honest, around the fire, and 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. When the fire went out, I mean, it went to 0. When the fire was lit and we were around it, 10 out of 10. Beautiful, perfect camping experience. So if I'm taking too long, sorry.
No, this is.
So then, so like, it's cold now, and I have to. I mean, one other thing I've learned is I am just living in the fire. I have to smell like the fire because of all the things we're doing, cooking, and you're just doing everything around this fire.
Just to keep it alive.
Just to keep it alive.
Fire is life.
And I didn't know how to keep. I mean, I'm melting my gloves trying to put this Dutch oven on and off, checking the food. Like we are raw in how to do this. You know, I've learned how to do it way better, but I mean, I melted my to try to figure this out was, in the moment, was a little stressful but fun. So here's where it went from great to miserable. And here I thought I was cheating. When I took me and the boys into the tent, at this time it was probably 9 or 10 o'clock at night. It had to be below 0. And the boys, they had all their layers on they needed. And then they got in their sleeping bags, and I was still so hot from the fire. I still had another cotton layer that I could have put on, but I was so hot and I was so tired. I kind of did the old, oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
And so I just laid down and okay. The one perk was in the tent. I downloaded a movie, like a survival movie
Yeah.
for me and the boys to watch, to fall asleep to, just for fun. So we did have a movie. So we started the movie. We all made it through, not even half of it before we all fell asleep. So I wake up, one, because I'm freezing at this point. So I'm in my sleeping bag, and I realize I should have put my base layer on. I should have put that cotton layer on. So now I do know this is just one night. I'm right down the road, but I give anybody credit that really does this for a living. So I'm miserable, and so I think to myself, I don't want to get out of my sleeping bag. I just got to get through the night. I'm just going to lay here and get through the night. As I'm laying there, it just keeps getting colder. I was like, I got to put on layers. So now I'm thinking, this is kind of more serious than I thought. So now I'm kind of like rocking the boys, they're snoring, they're out, they are. I mean, we are layered up. We are layered up. I'm not. So I go to get out of my snow pants, and as I get out of my snow pants and bring my knees up, I'm so cold that my legs cramp to where I want to yell for my mom. I'm like, Mommy. And
I don't know if that's a cold. I think it's just we're getting old.
Right.
It might be.
And so then I go reach for my base layer, and it's freezing because it's been sitting out there ready for me to put on. So I managed to put on my base layer. I get everything ready. It's like it's just not. It's cold and slow, and my fingers are just like numb because I forgot to put gloves. I've got gloves on the boys. I didn't put gloves on me. So I get back in my sleeping bag, and I'm already just tuck myself back in to go to bed. And then after unpeeling all of my layers to get my layers on, and I get back in my sleeping bag, guess what I got to do?
I have a feeling.
Right. I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh.
So I'm thinking, no way
am
I doing this
I'll
again.
hold it. I'll wait till morning.
I'm holding it. So I go to look at my phone, and I'm hoping, like, I'm thinking, all right, it's 4 a.m, 3 a.m, just push
Grit
through
the next couple hours.
It's like 11:30. I'm thinking, no.
Oh,
So
the realization. It's got to be like 3.
Out of my
it's 11.
Like, I feel like, because I did fall asleep and I woke up, so I'm thinking, it's. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna push through. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I get out, go to the bathroom, and then I lay back down. Did I ever fall back asleep? Probably not. And it was so bitterly cold. And I was thinking to myself, this is why that guy does a lean-to. Here I thought I was cheating, using a tent. I was putting us in a freezer for the night. Rookie mistake.
Blocked your heat source.
I blocked my heat source. It was miserable. So on a scale, would I ever do it again? Absolutely not. Never. I will never do it like that again.
Yeah, you
never do it like that
again. Learn from
again.
it and try it again.
I
would be interested to see your guys' second attempt, because I feel like the first one was a huge learning curve.
Right.
Because I've already learned what not to do, and I've never gone on these excursions.
Right.
So,
like, it would have been better for us to have just gotten our sleeping bags, thrown them out in the snow by the fire, just to have the fire. And I'm literally watching an hour worth of a guy on YouTube to do this. But yeah, like, I learned a lot, and I should have never put ourselves in that tent.
Hey, live and learn.
The boys, Julian went home, took a bubble bath.
That's what I would do.
He still likes his bubble bath.
I would have done it.
And me and Jonah sat in the shower. We sat in the showers for I don't know when he got out. I was so cold. Like, I don't know.
At that point, it's painful. It's painful
like,
to feel all the blood rush back to your outer extremities. It's like sticking your hand under the sink after having a snowball fight, and you feel all that blood rushing back in.
I hope I don't make it. Now, the boys were safe. Just so we know, the boys were safe. Everybody was safe here.
We were good.
We challenged the elements. We conquered the elements. We just learned how to do it better the next time. So
great.
Yeah.
So let's say you're placed in this situation for real.
Yeah.
Realistically, how long do you think you could survive in the wilderness? No kids, just you in a situation similar to that. So, like, sub-zero temperatures, it's cold, but if you were really stranded,
oh gosh,
how long do you think you could? Because I would love to say, like, glamorize it. I'm like, oh, toot my own horn. I could live a week out
Right.
there. I don't even know if I can make it 12 hours.
Right.
Like, first time a meal got away from me,
Right.
I don't know what I'd do.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you have your meal, if you have a fire source and food, I'll be honest, I would sleep much better the second night because I would just keep the fire going. So I would survive in a situation like that as long as the fire is moving.
All right, good answer.
All right.
Good answer.
When that fire's out, I'm out. So and I think you and I talked about this when I was talking about teach skills because you have that true story like those rugby players from that movie and the book Alive, where they crashed in the Andes and they had to live for like 70 days in a frozen in the Andes.
Yeah.
And
Is that South America, right?
Yeah.
South America.
I mean, they did
Peru,
it for
maybe?
70 some days, and of course their story is tragic and heartwarming at the same time, and it's a survival story. But I feel like when you're forced in it,
you're in a different mindset.
You're in a
that's
different
for sure.
mindset, and you're gonna will yourself to survive as long as you can.
Yeah.
When I'm a half mile away from my house,
going back or quitting is an option.
Right.
At that point when you're surviving, quitting is
Right.
not an option. Quitting means death. So that's good. I don't camp a whole lot, but we used to. I used to live in Hawaii for a while, and one of my favorite things to do was just ride the bus, and we would just get off the bus, public bus, someplace, some beach, and we would go and we'd camp there for the weekend. And it's one of those, you pack light. I mean, I'm talking, I brought, I was wearing my board shorts and my slippers, which is what they call flip-flops.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my slippers on, my board shorts, wore a hoodie. Everyone looks at you crazy because you're wearing a hoodie in Hawaii and it's like 80 degrees out. But when you're on the beach, it gets pretty windy. And at nighttime, it does get fairly cold, just if you're not layered up. So I'd be sweating profusely with a hoodie on and a backpack that's got like food and a towel in it.
Right.
And we would just get off and stay at that beach for, a night or two at the most. But
and I would have been very good friends in Hawaii.
Yes, I agree. Because you're telling me these stories, and over the last 7 years, just your interests and the things. I mean, we always find something to connect on and talk about. So if we had gone to the same school at the same time, I really believe we would have been very, very good friends growing up, because that was an amazing experience. Just camping out on a random beach. I couldn't even tell you what the beach was called because we didn't know.
I tell you, I've joked about this with you every now and then when I'm reminded that you lived there. I couldn't imagine what you just explained, like just hopping on a bus and just you and your buddies just going to a random beach on a tropical island and just setting up a camp, whether it was for a night or 2 nights. I honestly would never have graduated from college.
It was challenging.
I would at that age and time of life for me. If my parents would have let me do that, I probably wouldn't have seen a classroom.
It was definitely a struggle. I mean, you grow up quick.
Yeah.
I went from being, a senior in high school thinking I knew everything,
Right.
couldn't tell me anything. Moved literally
From Hartville.
across the country to a small island in the Pacific, lived there for a year, didn't know anybody, didn't know my roommate, just kind of rolled the dice. I was very, very fortunate that I ended up with a roommate that we're still friends to this
That's
day.
fun.
Great guys from LA.
Okay.
But yeah, he was kind of doing the same thing. Didn't
So
really know
you're
anyone.
sitting in, because you graduated from Lake.
Yes.
So you're sitting in Lake. You're sitting at Lake Hartville, Ohio, and you're an athlete, and you're thinking, so what pulls a guy from Lake High School in Hartville, Ohio? It's not like it's like OU. You're not even thinking big picture of the state, and then from the state, down south, out west, out east. What takes Logan to Hawaii?
It was a combination of things. I wanted to leave. I wanted to experience, something a little different. And I was at the point where I was looking at a couple different schools, on the mainland United States. I was accepted into the University of South Florida. I got accepted into San Diego State. And I was thinking about those great colleges, but, for roughly the same price,
Jeez.
I could go to Hawaii.
Jeez.
So it wasn't extreme. It was one of those, like, the more you tell me that I'm not going to do it, the more I am going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
But really, it's crazy. But one of the big driving forces was their football team.
Okay.
When I was growing up, they had a very, very good football team, in the early 2000s. Colt Brennan was the quarterback. I remember him breaking almost every passing record. They went to one of the big bowl games that year. They got smacked by Georgia. But anyways, I loved their football team. I loved the uniforms, their the haka dance that they performed prior to competing. So there were so many other factors that went into it, on top of the fact that I wanted to major in marine bio.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to do marine biology and zoology. I loved working with animals, or at least I loved animals.
Right.
My dream was to eventually open a sanctuary for primates
Okay.
somewhere in the world, probably like Africa or a location where it would have been, logical to do that.
And
But
you're still not giving them the benefit of the doubt on the grizzly.
yeah, I know. I love animals, and they're still questioning me. They still think that the gorilla is going to. And I do love gorillas. It is hard for me to not pick the gorilla in that situation. But yeah, that was.
Neat.
There were several factors that led into that, and it also just kind of fit who I was at that time.
Right.
Very carefree, very laid back. So it fit, and it worked out for a while. It just didn't work out in the end, and I had a couple opportunities back home.
Right.
So I decided to jump on those and take advantage of those
Absolutely.
opportunities. But my goodness, do I miss it? I
Oh.
would go back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I would eventually like to go back there at some point. I don't know how reasonable or realistic that is,
Right.
but I mean, my goodness.
Right.
Once you're there, you have an itch for it, and
I couldn't
nothing
have-
scratches that itch.
I couldn't imagine.
I mean, one of my favorite beaches there actually isn't a beach at all. It's called China Walls, and it's actually kind of a cliff that overhangs the ocean, and it's really like right around the same area where you ever heard of Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Yeah.
He has like the TV show, or I didn't watch it, but I knew who Dog the Bounty Hunter was. Well, he lives in a really, really nice house in this allotment that is near there. So we would go and we'd check out, the Dog the Bounty Hunter
very
gate
cool.
and stuff.
Yep,
And
yep.
But anyways, this beach, there wasn't sand. It was just these cliffs that overhang over the ocean. And you would stand on these cliffs, and it wasn't too deep, it was a 20-foot drop into the water. But what you don't realize is how isolated you feel once you're in the water. You can see the cliffs. You have to
Right.
climb up the cliff, like
Right.
hands and feet both.
Right.
Like there's no stairs, there's no ladder. Like there's only one way back up the cliff, and it's climbing it.
Right.
And it's not a difficult climb. Like it's reasonable. It's pretty safe. You have to watch out for sea urchins. There's like sea
yeah.
urchins and stuff you're avoiding along the way. But I mean, I remember you time it up with the waves. The waves are kind of running parallel
Okay.
with it. So you jump into the wave so it doesn't slam you into the wall. There's kind of, a learning curve to
Right.
it.
Right.
But I'm telling you, I made the jump, and the first time you hit, you go under, and then you come up, and you realize how small you are as a human. And
I bet.
my number one fear to this day is open ocean.
Oh, okay.
The thought of right now, you can't see it. I have goosebumps just thinking about being stranded in open ocean, and it is an absolutely horrifying experience.
Unreal.
Horrifying. And I was close enough to swim to the wall and climb back up.
Right.
But it's just that sensation that you get. You're like, oh,
Right.
this is what they're talking about.
Right.
And until you, just now, like I said, I have goosebumps right now thinking about it.
That
but it's
would be
crazy.
An incredible experience.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to do that we didn't get the opportunity to. We had a trip planned to fly to one of the other islands and go shark diving over spring break. Now, we had some weather and, some cost problems, so we ended up backing out of that and didn't go, but that was one that I would have loved to have.
Right.
I would have been scared to do it, but it would have been an amazing experience, and I wouldn't have regretted it
Right.
afterwards. I did go snorkeling, though, at a place called Hanama Bay, and I did get to see some small reef sharks. They were way off. I didn't.
Right.
I mean, you see a shark underwater, and you're like, oh, you see all the bubbles
Oh,
coming
yeah.
up, but it was never any danger. They were no real threat, but seeing a shark in its natural environment is kind of alarming.
Right.
But man, I saw some crazy stuff in that. Fish as big as me, coral arches you can swim under.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it is a life-changing experience.
I'm
so
glad you got to
if
experience.
you get the opportunity to go there, you got to check out Hanama Bay. I'll send you the information.
Yes.
It is. It changes your view of the world
I
because
bet it
it's just
does.
an entirely different realm under the water.
I want to see it.
And you like surfing though, don't you?
I love it. I love it. It's funny, that it's just funny. Is surf just any of the action sports, anything that involves you like, I don't know, Mother Nature, gravity, me conquering a goal or a challenge in the action sports world. I always had an interest in it, and
I love the action sport. I'm not a participant in them.
Right.
I prefer to be a spectator
Right.
for
And-
those. But my goodness, I love the extreme sports,
Right.
the X Games. and
Yes.
these athletes who they're defying Mother Nature, they're defying
Yes.
gravity. And I even had a couple of them that I wanted to mention later
Right.
on. We'll talk about, but
and then and for me, it's like as far as like I've always just been a recreational extreme sports fan / I want to say athlete, but like a participant.
casual participant.
Right.
yeah.
It was funny though, when I was a senior in high school, I was into skateboarding, I was into snowboarding, I was into all of it, and I wanted more of it. And when we'd go on family vacations, I was always out in the ocean, trying, wiping out, just learning. And just for being a rec Ohioan that's going and surfing on vacations, I was just starting to have fun with it and started building up my confidence, and then started loving the ocean even more. And then my senior year of high school, I had enough credits to graduate, and my principal knew I didn't want to be at school. And so my sister and I drove down to the Outer Banks during Green's spring break, and then I was job hunting just as a post high school opportunity, and this little motor inn called the Cabana East Motel. It's not there anymore, but we were staying there, and they found out what I was doing there, and they offered me a job as like the pool boy maintenance guy.
Hey, it's a gig.
And it was you have to keep in mind, I'm coming out of high school, and this hotel is right on the beach. They give me a corner room that doesn't have a window, so I have a free place to stay, rent free. So basically all the other like college kids that are trying to do this, they're trying to get little dorm huts, they're trying to get roommates, they're just trying to find any kind of place to live and make it work. And here I am positioned in a motel that is, I can see the ocean as soon as I walk out of my room.
Oh,
And
doesn't
so
get any better than that.
doesn't. So I went back to my principal, who was a great guy, and I said, listen, they need me down, and they want me to start working sooner rather than later. So Mr. Geis said if you can get permission from your teachers to get out of here with getting your grades, and it was very informal. He goes, I'll let you leave.
Wow,
And-
different time.
Right? And so I remember I just went around to all my teachers, and I probably fudged the conversation a little, it was like, but they basically kind of let me not stop. I had to complete certain requirements, of course, but they were very kind of lenient and generous and
Accommodating. Yeah.
And so I remember I basically, after spring break, which is March, I bet by May, early May, I was down at the Outer Banks.
Ugh.
And I started the first thing I bought was a surfboard. Couldn't afford it. It was on layaway. Had no money. I had no money. I remember writing my friends postcards. I remember writing my principal a postcard thanking him, and sending all my friends postcards to the high school, just to say hi to, it was a neat experience. And then I started working down in the Outer Banks, and it got to the point where my mom and dad were, I bleached my hair. It was black when platinum was a thing.
Platinum blonde, puka shell necklace.
Oh yeah, I was that guy.
Yep.
I was that guy. I had sand in my hair. I was surfing I was working, and then when I wasn't working, I was surfing. I was the local guys kind of took me in. Just, it's funny. It was like, when you're nice and you're just likable,
opportunities will knock.
Happen.
Doors open for you.
So, come out with us. They were a little, so I got in. I just made friends immediately. So I had AM surf sessions, PM surf sessions. I was having the time of my life. It got to the point though where my mom and dad didn't think I was coming back, and they basically came and they wanted me to go to college. College was not on my mind, and they didn't force, but they talked me into coming home. They talked me into coming home, and giving college a try. So I never hung up the surfboard. That's where I really got surfing, though. That time in my life was where I really dialed it in and really enjoyed it for being an Ohioan. So yeah, I'm living in Ohio still, and I'm this was 20. I mean, this is 20-some years ago, but I still like to pretend like it was yesterday. So anytime we take our trips, got the wetsuits for the winter surf sessions, got the boards for the right wave conditions. That's my happy place. Oh, I guess that would be a passion too. So, but that's just a total rec passion. That's when time and vacation opportunities provide, we're in the water.
I wish I was better at it. I'm not very good.
Right.
I never really did any shortboard surfing.
Okay.
I was all like longboard. I didn't have the money for one when I lived there. So anytime I had to borrow somebody's or rent one. And down in Waikiki, which was walking distance from the dorm room. So you walk 10 minutes down to Waikiki, and I would pay wasn't crazy, like $10 or $20 an hour, but that adds up over time.
And Hawaii can't be cheap.
Yeah, especially when you're out there for long periods of time. So I only ever really did like the longboarding in Waikiki, which is very introductory. But it's another one of those. I love spectating. I love watching it. I love the culture surrounding it.
Love it.
I actually just watched an interview of Kelly Slater,
Yeah.
just a couple days ago out of random. And I don't even think these kids know who Kelly Slater is. For those that don't know, he is arguably one of the most influential surfers of all time.
Right.
But yeah, more of a spectator sport for me. I wasn't very good. What I did like was paddleboarding.
Oh,
have you ever done that?
Yeah.
That one was a lot of fun for me. That's one that I picked up and it's carried back home with me.
Yes. Well, that's really popular even in Ohio now.
It is. Like I went.
You can take that anywhere, kind of.
Where was it? I forget where I went. Minnesota Key or something down in Florida. It was along the Gulf side, West Coast. Went paddleboarding out there and had the opportunity to see a live manatee swim underneath me.
That would be awesome.
And I knew what a manatee was, the cow of the sea. They're super, nice.
Right.
They're the people there love them. They're like good luck charms. But it doesn't matter when something that size is swimming underneath you.
Right.
And there's not a whole lot you can do. All it took was for that thing to bump me off my board, and I'm in the water with that thing. And not that it would have done anything or that I would have been in harm. But psychologically, that messes with you.
It
does.
It's
like, holy cow, what if I'm wrong? What if that's not a manatee?
Yep.
And that it was, and everything turned out to be okay. But still, there's that moment where you're like, oh, this could be it.
Yeah.
And it's not even really that dangerous of a situation.
Right.
I'm perfectly safe. But I hype it up in my head, and it gave me some some emotions that I was not ready for. I'll say
Well,
that
and when
much.
we're not familiar with, when we're from Ohio playing in areas
so out of
our,
your element.
it doesn't matter if it would be any time you fall over, even if it didn't bump you. What's under me?
Yeah, like, I used to remember getting in the pool after watching Jaws, and like in the deep end. Like I can't be in the deep end. I
Right.
got to get back to the shallow
Right.
end. Yeah, that's. Whew. We are not designed to be
Exactly.
in the ocean that much. Not like those things. But that's absolutely crazy. So the next one, a kind of great segue right into extreme sports.
Right.
We were kind of talking throughout the year about some of our favorite athletes. So I just wanted to ask you the question: Who is the most influential action sports athlete in your lifetime?
In my lifetime, man.
I have an answer here, and we'll discuss it afterwards.
Well, that's a
but
great
I'd be
question.
curious to compare it to your answer.
See, here's the thing. I mean, I was an avid X Games fan through the late '90s, early 2000s, when action sports athletes were just big time.
They were rock stars.
Mhm.
It's not like it is now.
Right.
It's not covered at all. But
No, and then so I'm just trying to. So what I'm trying to do is think back to those '90s days when when I turned on the TV and was watching X Games. I know I wanted to watch Dave Mirra on and I was never really into. I never took to BMX, but I loved watching him on BMX.
oh, he's actually the person that I had written down. That was one of the most influential.
That's what I mean. So he.
And I'm the same way. I didn't ride. I
Right.
wasn't very good. I couldn't skate. I mean, I tried and I fell a lot. Wasn't very
Right.
good. But it's one of those I was drawn to
Right.
it. And man, he was a wizard on the bike.
He was a wizard. I think he captured fans from all
absolutely.
areas of those actions.
Because at the
Everybody
time,
wanted to
I don't
watch
even
him.
think I was that big of a fan. But when
Right.
I was looking up the old video of it when he pulled the double backflip
Oh,
for the
my
first
gosh.
time on a bike in
Right.
what was it, the '99 X Games or
Right.
something. Everyone went crazy,
Right.
and most people were not avid BMXers or
Yeah.
followers of the sport.
Right.
It's like Tony Hawk 900.
Right.
It captured the attention of the entire world, whether you skated or not. It was
Yep.
just like, wow, I didn't know you could do that on a board.
Right.
And yes, Dave Mirra is a big one for me. That's funny that he was the first one you mentioned because I literally just circled him on my paper.
I'll be
because
darned.
That was the name that I had written down.
Yep, and it's funny because my favorite was skateboarding back in the '90s. But when I think back, of course, Tony Hawk. But everybody knows it. I'm just trying to think of '90s. Like I don't even know if I'm even Bucky Lasek.
Bucky Lasek was
Do you
one. I
remember
have his
him?
name. Eric Costin, Bucky
Okay.
Lasek.
There was that guy. He had long, but this is maybe 2000s, and I think he was more just a freestyle. He had long hair, beard, just I don't forget his name. He was a big influence. I always watched him in the skateboarding world. But regardless of if it was Dave Mirra or the skating, what's neat about those X Games for me is just how that's just a neat time of just watching that whole action sports genre progress.
Oh,
You know,
it was
adding new
new events, new
Events.
sports, and it was people were starting to do things on skateboards and bikes and even dirt bikes that had never been done before. Because I think I was looking at it in '99, Dave Mirra threw the first ever double backflip on a
Okay.
BMX bike. The following year, I believe, I have it in my notes somewhere. In the following year, Dave Mirra pulled the double backflip on. No, I'm sorry. Tony Hawk did the 999.
Yep, I remember that.
Dave Mirra did the double backflip on a bike in 2000. And then just 6 years later, Travis Pastrana did the double backflip on a motocross bike,
Right.
dirt bike, which was something that was insane.
Did you watch, do you remember that?
The
talked
Travis
about, it's funny.
Pastrana?
You talked about
Absolutely.
Goosebumps. I still remember.
Oh.
I remember that night.
And you watch it, and these are tricks that people pull regularly now.
Right.
Like, oh, he pulled a double backflip.
Right.
And cool. And that's where the bar is.
Yes.
But that bar wouldn't be there if it wasn't for these dudes who were insane, out of their minds, throwing double backflips in a time where people were content with just spinning on a skateboard.
I know, and just even flipping a dirt bike upside. It just wasn't. It just wasn't heard of. And you have these guys out there just breaking almost every bone in their body trying to do it. They're built different.
They are built different.
But it's funny. Sure. Every event you just mentioned, I just remember I was in front of the TV watching all of those events. I remember Tony Hawk's 900. I remember Dave Mirra's double backflip. I remember Travis. It's funny. Well, obviously, it's much closer. And I think when FMX, kind of we just said how when I remember when that sport evolved into X Games, they started doing those best tricks and
the big air. That's where it really started to evolve.
Man, I just remember I've never even rode a dirt bike, but watching what those guys do with that machine under them and flipping it around.
It's so heavy.
They make it look so easy.
So strong.
And just watching Travis Pastrana, I about fell out of my chair when he landed that, and just with on such a big stage too.
Yeah.
He would. Any of those guys.
Everyone knew he was trying it too.
Right.
Everyone was like, "Oh, is he gonna do it?"
Right.
That's the only thing he had to do in that run. He went, he threw the double backflip,
right,
and then he threw down the bike, and the entire crowd swarmed him. It was.
All right.
I watched the video getting ready for this, and once it gave me goosebumps. So
right.
This is something from 2006 that has been repeated countless times.
Right.
But the energy, the anticipation, and
right.
seeing the excitement on these people's faces watching it live was next level.
Which one of those athletes, if you could only pick one to go out to lunch with, would you go out with?
Tony Hawk.
Okay.
Tony Hawk. He's just so influential. I mean,
yeah.
he brought skateboarding from a small sport that was barely covered
mm-hmm.
to... You might have never even touched a skateboard a day in your
right.
life, but you know who Tony Hawk is.
Right.
He, is made impacts in the skating community. He's even branched out into the video gaming community. Because I'll say one of the most influential games in my life growing up was Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do the tricks that they were doing on a skateboard,
yep.
but I could play Tony Hawk pretty well.
Yep.
So all the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games were big for me. So I'd have to say Tony Hawk,
right.
just because, one, his ability to skate, his influence on the sport, the 900. Did you see him do the 900 again at the age of 50?
No, I don't think I've seen
Oh
that
my
yet.
gosh, you have to see it. This is a great video. This goes for anyone listening. Look up the video. Tony Hawk did the 900 in the year 1999. It had never been done before. No one thought it was possible.
Right.
Well, he did it. It was amazing. It was celebrated around the world. Well, he attempted to do the 900 whatever it was 30 years later at the age of 50. And it shows him in his, he's big now. He's got
right.
the birdhouse
right.
facility or whatever it's called. And it's him just trying to throw this 900 over and over at the age of 50. And he's eating it. And I'm watching him take these falls.
Right.
And I'm like, there's no way I'm getting up from that.
Right.
And I'm decently younger than Tony Hawk. So the fact that he just kept getting back up and throw. But there's a very cool video on YouTube. That. You got to watch it. It's another one of those that'll give you goosebumps because
very cool.
You know Tony Hawk from when he was a kid.
Yep.
And to see him do it now, excuse me, as a 50-year-old adult that's, the grandfather of the sport, so to speak.
Right.
Is something that's very cool. But I would have to say dinner with Tony Hawk for that answer.
Yeah, very cool.
And that's a good one. Now this wasn't in the X Games, but did you ever see Danny Way jump over the Great Wall of China?
I did.
That's another
yep.
one. Some of you might just need to stay on YouTube because there's another video back in the day. Danny Way did, I think it was a 540 or something over the Great Wall of China.
I remember that.
Which, once again, wasn't a big deal to anyone in the States, but
right.
had exposed the entire world to
yep.
the world of skateboarding, and it was influential there. And that was a pretty neat experience to see him do that.
It wouldn't be. They're doing something they love, and they're not even doing it to be influential. They're just doing it because they want to challenge themselves and hey, let's make this happen. This would be a great accomplishment. And then doing something you love while influencing.
And I love they're never satisfied.
Right.
Because like he's going to jump over. Somebody's going to go bigger.
Right.
Somebody's going to spin more. Somebody's going to flip more.
Yep.
Somebody's going to jump higher. So it's this constant raising of the bar.
Yep.
And then nowadays you have athletes like that Felix Baumgartner that we talked about. Now, he's not using a board to jump over everything. He's just taking a helium balloon up to the stratosphere and jumping out. So, I mean, which is another great video. Check that out, by the way. Felix Baumgartner, free falls from the stratosphere. It's an amazing video. And it will prove that the earth is round, not flat.
So a lot of your listeners are going to have to maybe turn off Mr. Beast for a minute.
Yeah, get off the Mr. Beast. What does he do? Stream video games or something?
I don't know
who Mr. Beast
I don't know. I
probably should.
Right, I know, right? I just hear them talking about it,
Oh, Mr. Beast that. Yeah, Mr. Beast gave away $1 million.
They might actually have to look at guys accomplishing neat. Of course, I'm sure he's doing good, but I'm just razzing on these guys.
Oh, of course. We'll get to that. That's one of the things I'm gonna have you lecture them with at the end. But we'll keep moving here. We've been on the extreme sports topic there for a minute. I'm kidding. We're gonna talk more extreme sports because I'm actually gonna jump down here. I have a section about some documentaries that we've watched in the past, and the first one on there it is an extreme sport, but it doesn't involve a board, and it's rock climbing.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a video or a movie, that I know you've seen and I've seen, and I would encourage everyone to watch, called Free Solo. And it's on Disney+. And Free Solo is about a rock climber by the name of Alex Honnold. Have you heard of him before?
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't. What's funny is because I'm not into the rock climbing sport, I didn't hear about him until he made this documentary.
Me neither. And once again, it's something that I'm not a participant.
Right.
I would love to try it, but this is more of a spectator sport for me.
Yep.
But the rock climbing. And it's not just the fact that Alex Honnold was good at climbing rocks. He climbed El Capitan, which is one of the largest granite cliffs, I believe, in the world. And it's located here in the States. And he climbed El Cap multiple times, breaking world records for speed. But that's not what the movie's about. This time, he's going to free climb El Cap, which means no safety harnesses, nothing. That if this man slips or falls or does anything, he is falling to his death, most certainly. And this entire movie is, you don't realize it, but as I'm watching it, I'm white-knuckling my recliner because I'm squeezing the arms so tightly because you're watching just these scenes of this guy who's just hanging by literal fingernails off the side of this cliff. And he's doing it for fun, to challenge himself, knowing that if there is no failure equals death.
Right.
Like, this demands perfection and nothing less than that. And just to see him do it is insane in itself, but then you add in all those extra emotions and things that I felt watching it.
Right.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine.
I can't either. And then if in that documentary, first of all, the athleticism and the determination and the grit and the you have to be so focused to do what he does. And then he lives out of a van.
Oh, yeah. So he can travel around the world easy and then climb more stuff.
Right. So you got this extreme athlete.
World-renowned.
And, he's doing all this from the convenience of a van.
Yeah, he just wakes up in the morning in his van and stretches.
Right.
And then he just goes out and climbs the largest granite cliff face in the United States.
And it's amazing. And I think, and you want to talk about trial and error too. I have to imagine, he puts himself in situations to prepare, and you just wonder, so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm good enough to start doing this. When does that click in? You know what I mean?
Even then, let's say you get to that point, when does it click in that you're saying, I'm good enough to do this, that I don't need a rope, I don't need safety harnesses.
Right.
I'm just going to do this with nothing.
Right.
And then it's just, It's mind-boggling to think about. I get anxiety just talking about it. I
Right.
told you earlier I was watching the trailer getting ready for the podcast, and I had goosebumps. My hands were sweaty and clammy
Yep.
just from watching this guy in a trailer, a 2-minute
Yep.
snippet of what this guy is doing.
That's one of those movies where you're gasping as you are white knuckling. You're gasping.
You're holding your breath.
And you're holding your
Yeah,
breath.
and you don't
for
even
this
realize
guy.
you're doing it.
And he just looks so calm,
Yeah.
composed.
Well, isn't he a sociopath? Like, doesn't he not? He doesn't feel emotions.
Oh, okay.
Or at least he doesn't feel them the same way that everyone else does, because there's something that's missing. And I think he talks about it briefly, that he doesn't emotionally connect with people, and that helps him
Okay.
because he doesn't have, like, when he's in these dangerous situations, he's not thinking about death or the people that he loves. He's just so laser focused on his objective.
I to accomplish that, I guess I would want to have it, but I wouldn't. I don't think I would. If you were to ask me, hey, do you want to give up your emotions to go climb?
No,
I'm
that's
happy.
not the trade I'm willing to make.
I'm happy.
Well, did you see the guy who I think he broke his record, and then Alex actually went back and climbed it even faster than before.
My gosh,
But they made a documentary about the other guy. I think his name's he's from Nepal,
Okay.
and I think his name's Nims Persia or something.
Oh.
But he's well known for the documentary called 14 Peaks.
Yep.
Where he summited the 14 tallest mountains in the world, which were over some 8,000 meters. But he did so the fastest in just 6 months and 6 days, or so, all 14 peaks.
Incredible.
That's another documentary that's out there if you haven't seen that. It's similar to Free Solo. That it'll give you the goosies. It'll make you white knuckle a little bit as you're watching.
I'll have to check that out.
That's a great one. And the same. Do you remember the guy who directed Free Solo?
Yes.
I think it's Jimmy Chin. I think it's his name. He was the one who was hanging off the cliff with a camera filming Alex Honnold, which is insane in itself because he's literally filming his buddy,
right?
Knowing I could film my buddy falling to his death.
That guy has a story. Have you seen?
He does.
Have you seen Maru?
Yes, I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, that is actually like what Alex, right?
Yes.
What he did is amazing, and it is. But what this
Jimmy
guy,
and his crew did in Maru,
that is beyond just
that's not just rock climbing. That's survival and rock climbing put together.
Totally two different elements. They're all rock stars, and
they're all tougher than I am.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Even if, like you said, for me it's a spectator sport too, but I get captivated at the locations and the scenery and the cinematography of these guys. How you were saying you just felt small when you jumped into the ocean and you're looking back at the cliff to try to get up. It puts it in a good perspective of how small we really are when you see these guys.
It's got to be humbling.
Oh, God.
Got to be humbling.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that guy, Jimmy Chin, he actually put a new documentary out on Disney Plus, and it doesn't have to do with rock climbing, but he documents the cave in Thailand where the boys got trapped. It's called The Rescue.
Oh, okay.
And it's incredible.
Oh.
I mean, it's one of those. It's just like Free Solo. Like, I know the guy's alive. I know they saved some of the kids. I remember the story as it was happening live.
Right.
But even as you watch it, knowing the outcome, you're still holding your breath. You're white knuckling the recliner. But yeah, it was just put on Disney Plus not too long ago. I would say within the last couple months.
Well, you're putting a lot of good recommendations.
But it's called The Rescue, directed by Jimmy Chin. And it follows the cave rescue of that soccer team in Thailand that were trapped in that cave for however many days. I forget what the time was, but it was that story captivated the world.
Right.
Everyone, from the people there in Thailand to the greatest minds in the world were all trying to figure out how to save. Even I think Elon Musk was donating money to it. It might have been a publicity stunt or anything, but I know a lot of people were getting involved in figuring how can we get these kids out of this cave. But it documents that whole thing, and it's
definitely gonna have to
phenomenal.
watch that.
So check that out. All right, and our last topic here, because I know we're running a little long, but you're leaving tomorrow
I'm leaving tomorrow.
for Washington, D.C.
Yep.
with the 7th grade.
Yep.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it
Yeah.
because I think most of our listeners are probably on this trip with you.
Right?
So I figured we would talk about Washington, what's there, what we're excited about,
Yeah.
what I remember from the trip.
Great.
And then we'll kind of wrap things up
All
here.
right.
So first and foremost, I remember my class trips. I remember going on them as 7th and 8th grader vividly. I remember my roommates. I remember going to those places and the experiences. So this is definitely something that these kids will remember for a very, very long time. What should they be looking forward to? If you had to pick one monument, one place that you guys go while you're there, what can the kids look forward to in Washington, D.C. in terms of Mr. Rector's opinion or advice?
That's a great question. Well, I have a quick answer because I just know the monuments that still get me just teary-eyed and just puts in perspective what the men and women have done for us to be able to take a trip to D.C. But I love the World War II memorial. That one just all, I hope the boys and girls take time to put their phones down and reflect on what these monuments are constructed for. I look at it as a time to reflect on what these men and women did.
Yeah.
So when I go to the World War II monument, that really allows me to reflect on the brave men and women during that war. And I love the Vietnam Wall. When we walk by that Vietnam Wall and see every name on that wall is killed in action. I don't know if they do missing. I think it's just KIA.
I don't remember. It's been several years since I've been there.
But just I think it's the KIAs. It's very humbling that these men and women just sacrificed their lives for us. And then I love the Korean War monument because it's just the attention to detail that whoever constructed these monuments, they really just allow tourists that didn't serve in the military to really be humbled by the men and women that did and fought for our freedom.
Yeah.
And so 7th graders, there's more to just, and obviously teenagers, but I just hope they do take the time to consider that these monuments were not only those, all the ones we go to were constructed for a historical purpose that was monumental to our country. I think one of the neatest experiences I had doing the 7th grade trip was years ago and my grandpa actually got to do this because he's a World War II vet. He passed since, but it's called the Honors Flight, where they take World War II veterans and they fly them to D.C. and they they just show them around the sites. But we were there and just hats off to our district and our kids and how they're raised, because the Honor Flight vets were coming to World War II, the World War II memorial, and we happened to be there to watch them. And our kids funneled a big line for the World War II vets. They were being wheeled in to go check it out, and our students were giving them an applause.
That's cool.
It was so, and maybe that's why
that's neat. That's gonna make me cry,
right? And I think that's why maybe that monument is such a neat reflection on me, just because the way our students acted, the way they did put themselves second, and they put our vets first, and they just really gave them a warm welcome into that, an unexpected warm welcome into that monument. Oh, it was great. So my advice is have fun with your friends, have fun on the class trip, but my challenge to you is at each location, take time to reflect on why you're standing at that site.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. How long is the bus ride there?
what is that bus ride?
It's got to be like, what, 6 hours?
Yeah, maybe without it, by car it's like 5.5, 6, but with a bus of 44 teenagers yelling in your ear, it feels like 20.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably 6. We do that. We do a pit stop. We do a
Yeah.
couple pits. We do a rest stop break 2 hours in. I think the next break is lunch, and then we get there. So 2 breaks
Okay, that's not bad.
to get there. Oh, and it's fun.
On the way back, I'm always like, skip the last one. Just keep going.
my
We don't
God.
need it. We don't need it. Keep
Get
going.
us home. And I love this. Mr. Rector, where are we? Montana. Hey, Mr. Rector,
okay.
where are we? We're passing through Florida. We'll be there. Oh, okay. Hey, guys, we're in Florida. Yeah. They have no clue from point A to
What
point
was
B.
it? I think it was the last year I went on the trip. One of the most common questions was like, what time is it? Or how much time do we have left?
Right.
And at that point, I was done. So it didn't matter who was asking, when they were asking, or what they were asking. My response was 5 minutes.
Right.
We'll be there in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes would go by. Mr. Wortman, aren't we supposed to be home? 5 minutes.
Right.
And it took them, a couple times before they're like, you're just saying 5 minutes, aren't you? 5 minutes.
Now, Mr. Wortman, I hope I don't embarrass you here a little, but do you remember you and I were chaperones together?
Vaguely. I do vaguely remember it because I remember me and you were the only 2 ones on the bus laughing at Nacho Libre.
Yes.
Because that is still one of the funniest movies to me because of that experience.
Yes.
And I think the fact that no one else found it funny made it even funnier for me. Because
Right.
I'm like, guys, this is humor.
Right.
Like, this is the pinnacle of humor right here.
Right.
Jack Black is literally splitting my funny bone.
Yeah.
And you guys are straight-faced.
I don't get it.
Yeah, this isn't funny.
This isn't funny. But I remember, because you were just talking about heading home, I remember you, because we're all the chaperones there, you had a hood over your face, you had your tie downs down, and you were checked out, and we were bypass everything, let's get home. And I just remember because how you looked is how we all felt.
I wore it on my sleeve. I didn't hide it very well that year.
And it was so funny. I think it was me, you, and Mrs. Stevens.
But yeah, I do remember that. That would have been probably my first or second year of teaching altogether. Wow, that was a good trip.
That was funny. That was good.
And I think that was the year I actually lost my voice at Medieval Times. Mr.
Yeah.
Rhodes, I think he had the red knight, and my side had the blue knight, and we were going back and forth.
You
screaming.
and Mr. Rhodes, you and Mr. Rhodes, the kids, they would. You walked on water.
Oh,
well, you still do.
I don't
You
know
really
about that.
do. You and Mr. Rhodes, I remember that. You two could have told anything. Those kids would follow you around.
You gotta have fun with it.
Oh,
So we would
you
pit them against each other.
Yeah, they love everything you say.
We had a lot of fun with that. That was a great trip. So anyway, I'm getting so far off topic.
I'm sorry, I don't
back
help.
to the bus.
Yeah.
No one can complain on the bus. You get to pick any movie that you want to watch.
Right.
What's Mr. Rector's bus watching?
Well, you already said Nacho Libre. That is my go-to. So because we already talked about that, let me think of something else that would be my go-to right now. Oh, you know what it'd be right now is, and I think I mentioned it. We just did role models in class. We just did positive role model presentations, and one of the kids did a presentation on Brendan Bullsworth, who was
Not familiar with him.
Arkansas Razorback football player. I'm not going to give too many details. So Arkansas Razorback walk-on. He to this day, a very prestigious award at some NCAA ceremony awards banquet is the Brendan Bullsworth. Apologize if I'm saying his name wrong. Award. It's a walk-on award.
Okay.
So when the walk-on gets a scholarship, I believe there's a walk-on award. There's a movie called Greater.
Okay.
And it showcases his perseverance through being an average high school football player, wanting to be a Razorback, and then his pursuit to maybe one day go to the NFL, you've got to watch this movie. So going off course again.
I'm gonna watch it.
Going off course again. However, so that would be just knowing that story. I think the kids would love it because it's even if you don't like football, kind of like The Rock. You would just enjoy the story. It has just the best message for basically everything I teach in teen skills. It's got everything. So that's my movie, Greater. So, and I don't have it, hey, if any, I don't know, you're not gonna have this ready in time, but next year have it, Greater. Put it on my bus and I'll watch it with you.
Right, that sounds great choice. Then it's a greater choice. All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We're coming up here on about an hour and a half. Time's flying by.
Oh,
here.
sorry, yeah.
No, we're fine. We're fine. Keep the kids busier on the trip.
Right.
So, in closing, if there was one thing you could leave our listeners with, what would it be? This can be motivation, quote, a question. If you have anything to promote, your paintball club, ski club.
All right. Wow.
Or even if it's just advice about how our 7th graders should be handling themselves and their cell phones on the trip.
Right.
This would be a great time to leave that advice.
Well, I'll do that. Well, okay, the first thing, a shout out to the ski club, boys and girls on the ski club 7 through 12. The reason we did such a monumental trip to Peak and Peak is because you boys and girls behaved so well where it wasn't even a question of me if we could handle it. That's just a compliment to our Blue Streak students. I can't imagine.
And with someone as involved as you and the different hats that you wear and the things that you do, so to say something like that about our student body is a huge compliment because I don't know if everyone knows how much work really goes into getting these prepared for you.
Right.
Because we're not talking about the basketball team of 15 to 20 kids taking a bus somewhere. We're talking huge numbers of kids taking long bus rides in an environment that's extremely open with freedom, and it does involve a little bit of danger with some snowboarding and skiing.
It really does.
There is so much work that goes into that, and we don't thank you enough and show you our appreciation enough for that. But that speaks volumes coming from you with how involved you are to say that about our student body. It speaks volumes.
Yep. So thank you, students, on that. Paintball Club, March 12th. I apologize to the 8th graders because that's our class trip. I'm wearing too many hats sometimes where I don't pay attention to the dates. But that's going to be our first spring outing. Anybody that's going on the 8th grade class trip, though, will not be able to participate in the paintball club that day. However, there's still going to be 2 more. Same thing. You got these 7 through 12th graders handling paintball guns with paintballs with not being used properly could seriously injure.
Mm-hmm. It is recreational, but you have to take it serious,
and
just
so,
like anything else.
Once again, there's never a question in my mind that our students can't handle that responsibility. So looking forward to the spring season there. So that'll be March 12th.
I'm going to write that date down. I'd like to go to one of those.
All right, that'd be great.
March 12th.
And then lastly, it's funny. I think you were in my class today when I was showing Admiral McRaven.
Oh, that is one of my all-time, next to Danny McAskill and the one where Imaginate, I think that's what it's called.
Right.
I really enjoyed that one, but when it comes to motivation and a great message, I don't know if it comes any better than that video.
So just to take kind of what his motivational message is to everybody, to the boys and girls listening, he talks about hope. And he talked, and I kind of carried it on today in class, just real quick. If you want to be represented as a leader, as somebody with character and integrity, we represent hope to other people. Mm-hmm. It's really that simple. And to find a reason to want to promote negativity and put downs, and maybe even bullying, you're just not representing hope, and when you do that, you're just not representing yourself as a leader and somebody of character, and that's how you're seen. So kind of just for that last little bit of motivation, I'm just going to go off that Admiral McRaven motivational message he had today. Give hope to others and show your leadership and character.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the World According to Wortman podcast. I hope you tune in next time, and as always, rock 'em.